No, no.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is the 5th part to my Calamity Ring Challenge Assassin's playthrough. I know you guys have been patiently waiting. It's just been a busy week for me, and some days I just need a break. So thankfully, I finally finished it up, and hopefully you guys will be happy that I got you one up before the weekend. Last video I left off, I was headed towards Duke's Archives, and about 7 nanoseconds after that video ended, I realized I couldn't access Duke's Archives because I haven't turned in the Lord Vessel. So basically, that's why I'm here. There's a little bit of a skip in the video. I left Anor Londo and ran all the way back to Firelink, basically because I can't warp to the first Anor Londo bonfire. But since my Homer Bone took me there on the last video, I knew that if I just ran there and turned in Lord Vessel, I could Homer Bone back and be back to Anor Londo. I actually don't know why that is, to be honest with you. Since I never used that bonfire, I was kind of taken by surprise when I used my Homer Bone after Painted World and ended up here. I think it has something to do with Twilight Anor Londo, or basically after you killed Dark Sun Gwendolyn, it resets your bonfire usage. But for whatever reason, I took advantage of it. The only problem that I ran into when I was running here, I was thinking to myself, so I'm going to go to Duke's Archives and get the broken pendant so I can access new content. But the problem is when I want to come back to Duke's Archives to take out Seath later, I'm going to have to make a long run. Since I can't warp to that bonfire, the only option basically would be for me to use the bonfire by Dark Sun Gwendolyn or the one, the Princess Chamber one. But I found a plan B, that being that the Prepare to Die edition of Dark Souls has new bonfire warp locations. And one of those just happens to be the second bonfire in Duke's Archives. So instead of just getting the broken pendant and gating out, there's that word gating again, Homer boning out back to the bonfire and then heading to the new content from there, I decided I would go ahead and make my way to the second bonfire of Duke's Archives and then be able to warp back later when I want to kill Seath. Now I should have mentioned this in the very beginning of the video, but I'll mention it again. If you do not want spoilers of the new content, you should stop watching right now. I did bring it up in the last video as a warning, but in case any of you guys forgot or found this video without seeing the other ones, if you don't want spoilers, you need to stop watching now because I'm about to give you a few big ones. Now, assuming everyone that's watching already knows that, then you know why I'm here. I already mentioned it earlier. The broken pendant is the second part, the second requirement to getting to the new content. The first being saving Dusk, which I've already done. You're watching me do an incredibly stupid and risky maneuver here. Normally, I probably would have been smart to kill all the crystal soldiers first, but I decided that I didn't want to mess with them. Thankfully, I was able to get out of there alive, but it could have easily turned bad for me. So at this point, you're probably wondering yourself, is he going to do the shortcut? And my answer is, of course I'm going to do the shortcut. Would you guys expect anything less of me? You guys are going to watch this and you're going to think to yourself, I can never frickin' do it. He makes it look so easy, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll remind you that it's not easy even for me. The only reason I'm able to do it somewhat successfully is that I've spent a shit ton of time practicing it. It's not like I just walked up to this, tried it a couple times, and boom, I'm perfect. It took me quite a bit of practice to be able to get good at it. If you want to practice, my suggestion would be get your character to the elevator, kill all the enemies around it, and just practice over and over and over. If you fall off, then it's possible for you to quit out of the menu very, very quickly, and when you come back in, assuming you didn't die, you'll be at the top of the elevator. So you just keep going and going and going. If you successfully make it, Homer Bone back to the bonfire and just keep trying. And eventually you'll figure out the timing and the angle. Now even me, I don't get it every single time. I would say I'm probably about a 30% success rate, maybe up to 50 depending. But the point being, it took me a lot of practice to get there, so don't watch me do it and think that you'll never be able to. It just takes time. So with all that being said, it's time to actually head towards the new content. One of the new warpable warp locations is the Undead Parish, and that basically is the closest one that'll take me to where I need to go which is back to where I fought the Hydra. So this isn't really going to be a very thorough playthrough of the new content. I've already done that on another series where I went through and killed all the enemies, kind of went through all the secret areas. I pretty much just covered everything I could cover in the new content. So if that's what you're interested in, definitely check out that video series if you haven't seen it yet. Today I'm going to go in there and take out the bosses as efficiently as a Navy SEAL insertion team, meaning I'm just going to get the hell in there and get out. In fact, I hardly kill any enemies that aren't bosses. I basically just run through everything. It kind of makes the new content look really short comparatively, and I guess in a way it is, because the entire game is pretty short if you basically just run through everything. But my goal in this playthrough is to kill all the bosses, so all the other stuff doesn't really matter. I've got all the equipment I need already. Like I said in the last video, it's just one major boss run now. You'll notice I put fall control on. It comes in pretty handy here and there. The reason I'm using it here is because I didn't want to run all the way down. I wanted to take a little shortcut here. And I have 8 Estus flasks, and since I'm not going to upgrade any of the bonfires, or not upgrade, kindle, I wanted to keep that 8 as high as I could. So by using fall control, I negated all the damage there. So in this video, I actually remembered to do my taunting on all the bosses. I did, however, misjudge the damage of a couple bosses, and I actually didn't get to finish them with my Iaito's R2. Part of the reason is because the new content bosses have a lot of health, and sometimes when they get low health, I'm not quite sure if it's time for my R2 attack, or I just wasn't really paying close enough attention. So when I fight the Sanctuary Guardian, I actually ended up killing with a regular attack. I kind of stood there for a second dumbfounded because I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to use my special R2. But that was kind of my own addition to the playthrough anyway. The taunting is what you guys asked for. Now I will say, some of these boss fights I don't taunt in the middle because of the way the new bosses fight. It's very difficult to find an opening. So I found a way to taunt in the very beginning before they were able to attack me. I know a lot of you guys wanted me to taunt in the middle, but that works really well with old world bosses, but it doesn't really work very well with new world bosses. And I'll speak about the new bosses a little bit more in depth here in a second. You'll notice I never picked up Dusk's armor, so I was able to grab it now. So Sanctuary Guardian is definitely the easiest of the new bosses. He doesn't do as much damage, he has far less hit points, and also he's not very resistant to elemental damage like the other bosses are. So he's kind of considered like a little warm-up just to get you prepared for what's in store. So, like I was saying, Sanctuary Guardian's pretty much a wuss. He can be dangerous the first time you get to him before you understand his moves, but once you know his tells and you know how to dodge and counter, he's kind of a pussycat, like literally. The new bosses from here on out, however, are much more difficult. The reason being, I think kind of learned from the previous bosses in the original Dark Souls content, in that most of the bosses have a very limited set of moves, and all of them have very unique tells. So once a player kind of gets those tells and understands how to dodge each attack, they become pretty trivial. But I think they kind of remedied that problem with the new content because they gave each boss a lot more moves to use, and they gave him a little more subtle tells. And the most important factor, I think, is that some of their tells are very similar to other ones. There's certain moves where they look almost identical, and it's very difficult to tell which it's going to be, so it's harder to dodge. Artorias specifically has the somersault flip sword attack, where he either does a single one, a double one, or a triple one. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to tell the difference between which is he going to do. It seems to me, my luck, every single time he does one and I go in to try to hit him, he ends up doing two or three. And the times where I don't move in to hit him, he only stays with the one. So I think it might have to do with proximity, or it's just a random number generator and I'm just having bad luck. So generally, I play really safe with Artorias. I would say Artorias is very similar to fighting Gwen if you don't use parry. Most people just parry Gwen and they kind of don't realize how difficult he actually can be. The other thing is a lot of people will just simply poise tank him and sit there and mash R1 and heal when needed. But if you actually try to fight Gwen without poise tanking and without parrying him, he's a pretty tough battle. He's very relentless on his attacks. They have really good range, they're really fast, and even if you block him, he drains your stamina really quick. So in that sense, I think Artorias is a lot like Gwen. The basic key to taking him out, as you're going to see me do shortly here, is that you just need to be patient. He's not like the Four Kings where you can dodge one attack and then get two or three of your own in there. He basically allows you to get maybe one, sometimes two in there. And a lot of times if you go for that second attack, he'll nail you. So in that sense, I'd say that's actually his shtick. That's how they designed Artorias. You have to be very patient when you fight him. You have to wait for specific openings, and you can't get greedy and try to hit him too many times. So if you get greedy on this guy, you're going to die. Unless obviously you're like a level 150 and you have full Havels and a +7 Estus Flask and all that crap. But for a lower level character or someone like me who's a higher level but has low vitality, I can't survive more than one hit. So I have to be very patient. And this ends up actually being the longest boss fight of the playthrough yet.